And welcome back to All Day Live. So much going on today. A lot of developing news here in the last hour or so. We're going to go through some of those other headlines for you. Local independent journalist Georgia Ford and former CNN anchor Don Lemon in custody now in connection with an anti-ICE protest at a St. Paul church a couple of weeks ago. You may remember seeing the video of demonstrators going inside during a church service. We know, based on what the attorney for Don Lemon says, that he was picked up in Los Angeles this morning while he's out there covering the Grammy Awards, I believe. And then Georgia Ford, as I mentioned, is a local journalist. So we wanted to bring on our Paul Blume because it sounds like she's expected in federal court here in Minneapolis soon. Paul, what do we know?
Yeah, that's where I am, Amy, in the car right outside the U.S. District Courthouse in downtown Minneapolis at 11 o'clock this morning. I would call it a protest, a rally. Remember, this is close to home. Georgia Ford might not work for a corporate name, sort of traditional mainstream media outlet, but she absolutely is an independent journalist within the community of reporters here. She owns her own business. She's near and dear to the African-American community. She posted on Facebook this morning a video live feed of basically agents arriving at her home to place her under arrest to face federal charges in connection to that protest. She and Don Lemon were inside the church documenting protesters going into that small St. Paul church. There was an anti-ICE protest in there. The understanding from organizers was that the top ICE official in the local St. Paul office was an associate pastor in there. That's what made that church in particular a target, an anti-ICE protest. And then this morning at 11 a.m., like I was saying, local community journalists, supporters, her own family, Amy, showed up at Minneapolis City Hall and basically spent about an hour defending Georgia Ford, what she means to the community, what journalism means to the community, what her presence means to the African-American community. And now, like you mentioned, in about 45 minutes, she will make her first court appearance in federal court here at the U.S. District Courthouse. Our understanding is she is facing a couple of charges. And I think what's really interesting about this case, and I've been following it because when Nikema Levy-Armstrong, community activists, and Chantel Allen and a third gentleman were charged with organizing the protest, prosecutors made clear in their court filings they wanted arrest warrants at that time for Georgia Ford, for Don Lemon, for several other people in the that were in the church that day. And the local magistrate judge declined to sign an arrest warrant for them at that point. The prosecution, the United States government, was so adamant about getting an arrest warrant for these people. They appealed immediately to the 8th District Circuit Court of Appeals, who turned down that appeal. They said there were other avenues to pursue charges against them, even without a warrant signed by a federal district court magistrate. The other avenue, of course, is an indictment. So you bring in citizens from a grand jury, you sit them down, you need 12 votes in a panel that can range from 16 to 23. They sign off on these charges. That is our understanding what has happened, and now they are facing, well, we know specifically Georgia Ford, and that her attorney is commenting to the media about a couple of charges. CC's on the docket. The case has not yet been unsealed against them, so I don't know the exact charges Don Lemon would face, but we should see those shortly in Georgia Ford's case as soon as she makes her appearance. The typical procedure is to then unseal those charges.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, definitely. I mean, clearly, we saw the tweet from Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, who said that it was her directive to have these people arrested today. And then the others, do we, really quickly, what happened with Nikema Levy-Armstrong and the others? Did they were released, and what happened?
Yeah, their case plays out. What was interesting about that one, I sat in for the third gentleman. Forgive me, his name escapes me at the minute. Obviously, Chantel Allen and Nikema are much more closer to our community. The third gentleman was someone who's from out of state, who's a known activist who's come to town. But all three of them were subsequently released, basically on their own recognizance. What was interesting, I will point out, is the prosecution, the U.S. Attorney's Office, Department of Justice, did try to get them held in custody for the duration of their case, arguing that they are dangerous, that they can go, copycat, do this again. They can go back into churches. They argued for those three to be held on these charges that they deem a violent offense, going into that church, protesting, yelling, screaming, perhaps engaging with people inside the church. The judges did not see it that way and allowed those three to go home as their case proceeds, and it will go. These cases will move along. We'll see what judges do with it. Of course, defense attorneys are going to attempt to get these cases dismissed, and I certainly think, just understanding my knowledge and having witnessed the third hearing in this case, I would imagine at the end of the day, or it will be released on her own recognizance this afternoon, and then the case plays out, and that will play out in front of a judge, and eventually potentially a federal jury should it make it to a trial.
Okay, all right, Paul. A lot to follow today. We appreciate it. We'll be watching for any updates from you, and we'll get them. We'll refer it. Sorry, Paul. There's a lot going on today. Losing my words, but we will pass it along to everybody.
Yeah.
But I know you're there now. There's this rally for Georgia at about 1 o'clock or so, and her hearing at about 1:30. So thank you for the update.
Yeah, and I just want to stress, if I can, just for a moment, just because we are talking First Amendment, near and dear to the hearts of what we do every day. We could debate kind of what she did. Should journalists have gone into that church? I don't know what the allegations are and the level of, how intricately she was tipped off about being there, what her mission was in there. But to have journalists arrested at their home before sunrise this morning, in front of families, in front of kids, sitting in jail at the minute, in the custody, it's scary stuff. And I just wanted to convey that and make sure our viewers appreciated kind of what is happening. This is an important one to follow.
Yeah, a lot of fair questions to be asked in all of this, Paul. Thank you. Really appreciate it. We'll talk soon. All right.